Have you ever noticed that after a powerful spiritual experience, there is often a crash? Maybe you went on a retreat, maybe you had an incredible meditation, maybe you felt connected to something bigger than yourself. For a few days, everything felt different. Your mind felt clear, your intuition felt stronger, you felt peaceful, powerful, certain. You started thinking, I finally figured it out. Then, a few days later, the feeling disappeared. You woke up on a Monday morning and the anxiety was back. The doubts were back. The old habits were back. And suddenly you found yourself trying to recreate the experience. Another meditation, another ritual, another tarot reading, another manifestation technique, another search for a sign that you are still on the right path. The question is, what happened? Did the magic stop working? Did you lose your connection? Or did you somehow fall backwards? Abhidhamma says no. Something much more interesting happened over here. The experience ended, but your craving for the experience did not. And that craving is what we are talking about today. In modern spirituality, people think craving only means wanting money, relationships, success, or material things. But the Buddha's definition is much deeper. You can crave spiritual experiences, you can crave peace, you can crave enlightenment, you can crave being seen as wise, you can crave being the healer, you can crave being free from craving. Abhidhamma calls this Tanha. Tanha is the mind reaching for something that is not here, wanting a different feeling, wanting a different reality, wanting a different version of yourself. And here's the dangerous part: the more powerful the experience, the stronger the craving that often follows. Because now your mind has a memory. It remembers what that state felt like and it starts whispering, get it back, do it again. You're not there anymore, you're losing it. That whisper is not wisdom, that whisper is Tanha. And if you do not see it clearly, your spiritual path becomes another addiction. Not an addiction to alcohol, not an addiction to money, an addiction to states, an addiction to experiences, an addiction to becoming someone, and that is the magician's hangover. So, welcome to Magician's Hangover. So, Abhidhamma has a word for this, and the word is called Tanha, craving. Not just craving things, craving states, craving certainty, craving power, craving validation, craving the feeling of being special. Tanha is not wanting a car. Tanha is wanting reality to be different than it is. Wanting more, wanting less, wanting something else. And the wanting is craving. So Tanha is equal to craving. In the last episode, we explored an unusual idea. We explored the idea that Buddha understood things that many people today would call magic. Not magic as fantasy, not magic as waving a wand, but the understanding that the mind shapes experience, that attention shapes reality, that consciousness is more powerful than most people realize. Many people hear that teaching and become excited because for the first time they felt empowered. Instead of feeling helpless, they feel powerful. Instead of feeling lost, they feel special. Instead of feeling disconnected, they feel chosen. At first, this feels wonderful. But Abhidhamma asks a very important question: what happens next? Because the human mind has a habit. Whenever it finds something pleasant, it wants more. Whenever it finds something painful, it wants less. And whenever it finds something uncertain, it wants control. And this habit exists in every area of life, including spirituality. Abhidhamma calls this habit Taṇhā. Taṇhā is usually translated as craving, but craving is often misunderstood. Most people think craving means wanting money, wanting food, wanting success, wanting possessions, but Taṇhā is much deeper than that. Taṇhā is the mind reaching for reality to be different than it is currently. Wanting more, wanting less, wanting something else. You can crave spiritual experiences, you can crave meditation highs, you can crave signs from the universe. You can crave validation, you can crave enlightenment, you can crave being seen as awakened. In fact, some of the strongest forms of craving hide inside spiritual practices because they look noble, they look wise, they look enlightened. But underneath them is still the same movement of mind, which is I want. Abhidhamma identifies a particular form of craving called Bhava-Taṇhā, the craving to become. This is where the magician's hangover begins. At first, you enjoy a spiritual experience. Then, slowly, the experience becomes an identity. You no longer simply meditate, you become a mediator. You no longer simply heal, you become a healer. And you no longer simply practice awareness, you become the awakened person. Now your suffering has changed forms. Before you wanted money, now you want spiritual status. Before you wanted recognition, and now you want recognition for being conscious. Before you wanted people to admire your success, and now you want people to admire your wisdom. What has happened? The object has changed. The mechanism stayed exactly the same. Same prison, just new altar. This is why Buddha repeatedly warned practitioners about attachment to powers and extraordinary experiences. Many monks developed abilities that today would sound unbelievable, like deep states of concentration, extraordinary perception, experiences that seemed supernatural. But Buddha noticed a problem. Many practitioners became attached to those experiences. They began identifying with them and they became proud of them. They became dependent on them and eventually they suffered because of them. In Kevatta Sutta, Buddha makes a remarkable statement. He says that the miracle of instruction is greater than the miracle of powers. Why is that? Because powers do not remove ignorance, wisdom does. A person can have extraordinary experiences and still suffer. A person can have mystical experiences and still be trapped by craving. A person can perform miracles and still be attached to identity. The problem was never lack of power, the problem was lack of understanding. So let's look at the mechanism. Abhidhamma explains it very, very clearly. First comes a pleasant experience. Maybe it is a meditation high. Maybe it is a manifestation success. Maybe it is a powerful retreat. Or maybe it is praise from others. That pleasant experience creates pleasant feeling. Then craving appears. The mind says, I want more. Craving becomes attachment. The mind says, this is mine. Attachment becomes identity now. The mind then says, this is who I am. Identity now becomes suffering. Because eventually every experience changes and every feeling fades and every state ends. And when it ends, the mind experiences loss. This is the loop: pleasant feeling, craving, attachment, identity, suffering. The magician's hangover is simply this loop becoming visible. Now, let's take a personal example. How I know this is because I have experienced it myself. The first time a video performed well, it felt amazing. Then I wanted another. The first time someone said my work changed their life, it felt very meaningful. Then I wanted more people to say it. The first achievement feels like enough until it is not enough. Then the mind quietly moves the goalpost. And if we are honest, this does not happen only in business. It happens everywhere in relationships, in spirituality, in meditation, in healing, in manifestation. The ego is incredibly adaptable. It can wear expensive clothes or monk robes. It does not matter. It is still looking for something to become. So, how do we break this cycle? Abhidhamma's answer is surprisingly simple. See it, not intellectually, but directly. The next time you feel disappointed after a spiritual high, pause. Do not immediately look for another practice. Do not immediately look for another sign. Do not immediately reach for another ritual. Just pause. Bring your attention into your body. Notice the chest. Notice the subtle tension. Notice the pull. Notice the hunger. Then listen very carefully. There is usually a thought hiding underneath, which is, I want that feeling back. That exact sentence is Tanha. The moment you notice it, you have already interpreted the loop. Now let's do it together. Think about a moment when you felt spiritually powerful.